The champagne is still dripping from the podium in Shanghai. And yet, for Lewis Hamilton, this moment feels far more complicated than it should. Because after 26 races, after months of frustration, adaptation, and quiet doubt, he finally stands there as a Ferrari driver, a podium finisher at the Chinese Grand Prix. And on the surface, it looks like redemption. A 7-time world champion, back where he belongs. But just a few meters to his right, something else is happening. A 1-2 finish for Mercedes-AMG Petronas Formula 1 team. Dominance, momentum, control. And suddenly, this isn't just about a podium anymore. Because the real question isn't whether Hamilton is back. It's whether he walked away at exactly the wrong time. If you enjoy deep Formula 1 analysis like this, consider subscribing. Because this story isn't just about a podium, it's about a decision that could define the final chapter of a career. Numbers in Formula 1 rarely lie, but they don't always tell the full truth either. Start with the most obvious one, 26. That's how many races it took Lewis Hamilton to reach his first podium with Ferrari. Not 2, not 5, not even 10. 26. In modern Formula 1 terms, that's an eternity, especially for a driver of Hamilton's caliber. Then there's the more subtle number, 3. 3 years. That's how long Hamilton spent chasing form, rhythm, and competitiveness through the final stretch of his Mercedes career and into his early Ferrari days. 3 years of inconsistency. 3 years of searching for something that never quite arrived. And then, suddenly, Shanghai. A podium. A direct on-track battle with Leclerc. A performance that suggested something had changed. But the most important number might not belong to Hamilton at all. 1-2. That's what Mercedes achieved. Not just a win, but dominance. The kind of result that signals more than just race pace. It signals control over the competitive landscape. Because in Formula 1, a podium is a statement. But a 1-2 is a warning. And when you place those numbers side by side, 26 races for a podium versus back-to-back 1-2 finishes, the narrative begins to shift. Hamilton's result becomes impressive, but relative, encouraging, but incomplete, because the numbers suggest two parallel realities. One where Hamilton is rebuilding, rediscovering, recalibrating, and another where Mercedes are accelerating faster than anyone anticipated, which leads to a deeper realization. This podium wasn't just a breakthrough, it was a benchmark, a reference point that revealed exactly where Hamilton stands, not just within Ferrari, but within the wider competitive order of Formula 1. And once you understand that, the performance takes on a different meaning entirely, because the numbers don't just tell you what happened, they tell you what it might lead to next. At its core, this story isn't just about performance, it's about philosophy. Because when Lewis Hamilton made the decision to leave Mercedes in early 2024, it wasn't purely technical. It wasn't just about car performance or championship potential. It was emotional. A response to frustration, to stagnation, to the feeling that the final years of his career were slipping into something unrecognizable. Ferrari offered something different. Not dominance, but meaning. A chance to redefine the final chapter. To embrace a slightly different role. One where he wouldn't always be the lead driver. Where he might sit behind Leclerc more often than not. But where he would be valued, celebrated, and ultimately fulfilled. It was the concept of being wonderful. A shift from chasing titles to chasing purpose. We've seen it before. Fernando Alonso in 2023 with Aston Martin F1 team, a driver rediscovering joy, relevance, and respect in the twilight of his career. That was the blueprint. But reality didn't follow the plan because Hamilton's early Ferrari experience mirrored the very problems he was trying to escape. A flawed car, inconsistent performance, a continuation of the same technical limitations he faced in his final Mercedes seasons. Instead of renewal, it felt like repetition, and that's what makes this podium so significant. Because for the first time since that decision, the philosophy might finally be aligning with reality. The car is working, the role is clearer, the performance is tangible. But here's the tension. While Hamilton pursued fulfillment, Mercedes pursued perfection. While he sought meaning, they rebuilt dominance. And now, those two philosophies are colliding in real time. One driver chasing a better ending, one team building a new beginning. And somewhere in between lies the uncomfortable possibility that both paths cannot lead to the same place. Formula One is never just about racing. It's about positioning. And right now, the competitive landscape is shifting in a way that makes Hamilton's decision more significant than ever. Because Mercedes aren't just winning, they're building momentum. Back-to-back 1-2 finishes don't happen by accident. They represent a level of technical alignment, strategic execution, and driver confidence that few teams can match. And when that kind of performance emerges at the start of a regulation cycle, particularly with 2026 in play, it carries weight. Real weight. There were already whispers back in 2024 that Mercedes held an advantage heading into these new regulations. Quiet suggestions that their understanding of the upcoming changes could give them an edge. At the time, those whispers were easy to dismiss. Now, they're harder to ignore, because if Mercedes are indeed moving toward a position of dominance, then Hamilton's departure takes on a different meaning. It's no longer just a career move, it becomes a strategic gamble. And in Formula One, gambles are judged not by intention, but by outcome. Meanwhile, Ferrari finds itself in a different position. Competitive, yes, improving certainly, but not yet dominant, not yet in control. And that creates a political tension within the paddock, because every result now feeds into a broader narrative. Mercedes, rising, Ferrari, recovering, Hamilton, adapting. And as these narratives evolve, so too does the perception of decisions made years earlier. Because in Formula One, timing is everything. And right now, the timing of Hamilton's move is under a level of scrutiny that no one could have fully predicted. Lewis Hamilton's first Ferrari podium is, without question, a significant moment. Not because it signals a return to dominance, but because it signals a return to relevance. For the first time in years, he looks comfortable, competitive, capable of extracting performance from the car beneath him. That matters. But Formula One doesn't operate in isolation. And while Hamilton has taken a step forward, Mercedes appear to have taken several, which creates a dual reality. One where Hamilton is rebuilding his final chapter with purpose and control, and another where the team he left behind is shaping the future of the sport. Neither reality is wrong, but together, they create a tension that defines this moment, because in the end, this isn't just about a podium, it's about timing, and whether that timing ultimately works in Hamilton's favor or against it. So here's the question that lingers after Shanghai. If Mercedes continue on this trajectory, if they truly become the dominant force of the 2026 era, will this Ferrari podium be remembered as the beginning of a meaningful final chapter for Lewis Hamilton? Or as the moment he realized that his greatest opportunity was the one he chose to leave behind? Because in Formula One, the difference between a perfect decision and a painful one is often only clear in hindsight. And right now, that answer is still unfolding.